Are we all muted? I don't see anyone unmuted here.
All right, I'm going to call the special meeting to order on June 16th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Agenda item 2, announcements and amendments to the agenda. Are there any announcements or amendments to the agenda?
I was just looking at item number 4, chairperson and clerk, and I was thinking about the possibility of vice chairperson. That's not written down. Should we can agenda and it's the agenda to say, can you talk about the vice chairperson as well?
So you could add that on for discussion, but we can, as far as I know, we can take action on that right now. But if the board has discussion and decides to add one, then we can have questions next year. Any announcements, amendments? Our superintendent is unable to be here this evening due to a scheduling conflict, so I'd like to ask the board to strike agenda item 10, superintendent's report from the agenda. Any other changes? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to agenda item 2, comments from the public. This is the community's opportunity to share feedback and concerns with the board. We ask that you keep your comments concise, 2 to 3 minutes, and that you refrain from using any information that would identify a specific person. Please raise your hand in the room or use the Zoom raised hand feature. We will only use the online chat to manage any tech issues. You're not able to take action on any issues brought to us during public comment. However, any board member may suggest tonight that the issue or question be added to a future agenda for discussion. You may also delegate addressing issues to our superintendent by the panels. It is always helpful if you could email us a copy of your comments for follow-up. Any public comment in the room? Happy last day of school.
Thank you.
I am Noah Everett. I'm a co-president of SBEA.
Beth Adrian, co-president of the SBEA,
I live in Heinsberg.
and I live in Virginia.
We're here tonight. The last several meetings we brought our membership, but we're here tonight just to let you know that as this school year does become to an end, that's not going to be the end of our advocacy. We remain committed to having a positive change for the faculty and students of South Burlington, and will remain engaged to do so. Summer can be a break, but we want to make sure that this board and Superintendent Nichols knows that we'll be ready to start up again on the first day of school if necessary. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other public comment in the room? Anyone online? None. Move on to agenda item 4, which is our reorganization of the school board. So first we have the election of the new chairperson. Are there any nominations for chair of South Burlington School?
I would like to nominate Shane Soucher.
Seamus Absher has been nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
Emily seconds. Are there any other nominations for chair? All right, at this time, I would look for a motion to see Seamus Absher as the new chair of the South Burlington School Board.
Almost.
Laura moves. Is there a second?
Second.
There are seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. Seamus is the new chair of the South Burlington School Board.
Thank you. Can I sit next to you?
Those nights.
Do you want
Yeah.
in this black and white?
These are not mine, these are for other people. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Let's move forward together. So the next item is election of the clerk. Do we have any nominations?
Oh, well, we're not, we have to talk about vice chair. We can't
Oh,
take
I
it
see,
to
I see
vice
what you,
chair.
okay.
Is this where we would talk about it though? Oh, okay.
Chelsea, sorry.
Okay, can you add that to the agenda? please?
Yes.
I nominate Laura to be chair, clerk.
Second. Right. Do we have any other nominations? All right, do I have a motion to elect Laura Williams as the clerk of the South Burlington School Board? Do we have a second? Yeah. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You want to list it now? I'll say her friend. So, sure.
So our next agenda item is 5, focus on student learning. The student representative report.
Thank you, Shanice. First up, I am super excited to introduce our new junior representative, Momin Makar. Momin is an incoming junior and has been in the SP school district since elementary school. He attended both Orchard, then the middle and the high school. During the application process, Gracie, Jen, Emily, and I were most impressed with Momin's clear commitment to make a difference within our community. Momin is a team captain and player ambassador on his club soccer team, as well as a youth events coordinator for the Islamic Society of Vermont. In his interview, Momin also brought up creative ideas for understanding diverse student opinions, like sending out anonymous surveys to the student body. Momin also plays an active role in the South Burlington High School Neuroscience Club and has won the Vermont Brain Bee. So adding on, Momin plays both soccer at the school and for a club team and is very enthusiastic about diving into the role. I'm super excited to work with him this upcoming year. And yeah, Jen and Emily, we really thank you for helping with the interview process. Would you like to add anything on about Momin and his interview at all?
I would just say, woman, we were very impressed. I mean, it was a fierce field, as you may or may not know. We had a lot of awesome candidates, and you were just really just incredible. You did a great job. Very well spoken, very articulate, and the passion that you brought forward and the work that you want to do was really inspiring.
Thank you.
And congratulations too, because I saw you in the paper just the other day. So we're glad to have you here.
I'm so excited as well. Momin played soccer with my son last year, before Tuck graduated, so I know him a little bit and I'm really pleased to have him here. And I think he's gonna be a wonderful addition.
Thank you for choosing me.
And would you like to lead off our
Yeah.
announcements?
Alright, so on June 2nd, the high school held the All Sports Award Night for the senior class. This was an opportunity for seniors to be recognized for their athletic achievements. And then on June 4th, the Academic Award Night was also held at the high school. Great job to all who received awards for your hard work this year, and congratulations.
Burlington High School is currently hosting the Vermont State Decathlon. Vermont is the only state to offer a high school decathlon for both boys and girls, and we're excited to announce that 4 South Burlington athletes on the girls' track team are participating, and 3 athletes on the boys' track team are competing today and tomorrow. Currently, our boys' team is ranked first, and the girls' team is ranked second, so stop by the Burlington track tomorrow to catch the final 5 events of the competition. Yeah, and this past weekend, the high school and eighth grade graduations happened. Congratulations to all the eighth graders who graduated. We're super excited to have you at the high school next year, and good luck in the future to all the graduated seniors, including Gracie. We will miss you lots. And on a final note, I would like to say thank you to the board and Superintendent Nichols for having me as a student representative for the past 2 years. This role has truly been a transformative experience. Due to the culture that you all have created, I felt empowered to find my voice and create meaningful change as a student in our district. I'm immensely grateful for the work that you all put into making South Burlington schools the great places they are. While this is my last regular board meeting, I plan to stay involved with the board's work and keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move to the next agenda item, action items. The first item is board approval of resolution to enter into a tax exempt lease with MST Government Leasing LLC for photocopy equipment. Okay. So any discussion on the photocopier lease? Okay, I get this. So I'm ready to hear motions to approve the photocopier lease.
I move to accept the.
Thank you, we have a full text here
Oh, sorry.
that Dan is gonna read out. Can we hear Dan?
Can you hear me?
So the laptop is from the factory and it was for the room and you just have to push the button to see it.
This one.
Okay, motion one, I hereby move that the board approve the proposed tax exempt lease with MST Government Leasing LLC for the purposes of refinancing and funding photography equipment leases, including consultant fees and related costs of issuances of such leases in an amount not to exceed $248,888.70 and an interest rate of 5.19% per year through August 1st of 2030.
Thank you, do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Just one, I'm not sure if there should be an amendment. You read, Dan, you actually used the word photographic instead of photocopy.
Oh.
So I just want to make sure that gets into the record correctly.
Thank you,
Is that how expensive these leases are, I guess? I never, I don't know if there's any like.
They're quite
consistent. Are they?
Okay, something.
So that's like the actual photocopy machines that are in buildings,
You lease them and it's
but that's the service and
a service and it's all the things and.
for the next 5 years. And how many is that? Do we know how many that is? Is that,
How
see
many
that information in here?
No. I think that's a question, but that's pretty technical, that's for IT, but it's probably
Okay.
quite a few.
Just
I mean,
this.
I think you had more questions, they would probably be for the superintendent,
Yeah.
she's not here tonight.
Okay.
So if we want to, I guess we could rescind and,
No, that's okay. I was just, I mean, I'm just curious.
yeah, I think we can trust it.
You want a little background in this or?
Sure. So the chair recognizes Tim Jarvis, the Director of Finance, Senior Director of Finance.
Soon to be retired. It's great fun. You actually approved this in a consent agenda item on May 21st.
Yep.
So this is the result of us doing a very thorough examination of all of the printers and copiers and across the entire district. And working with the people who represent a consortium of schools across New England. And they get really good rates.
Okay.
So we're saving about $34,000 a year by moving in this direction and about $170,000 over the life of the lease versus what we're paying today.
Great.
Any other questions?
Is it because we're going to a 5-year contract versus doing it like an annual renewal? Is that? what
No,
you're
we've been on a rolling 5-year contract. It's the reason is because we're removing. There's too many, we don't need as many machines as we've had historically, so.
Okay.
Our IT director worked with the principals in the schools and did a site visit and went through like, do we need this? Do we need this? Do we need this? And we don't. So we're reducing the number of units instead of money.
It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 So the motion passes. Yeah,
I hereby move that the board authorizes the superintendent to execute and deliver the tax exempt lease with MST Government Leasing LLC on such terms and conditions discussed and provided to the board, and to execute and deliver any such documents required to execute the contract with specialized purchasing consultants.
do I have a second? Seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion passes. So the second action item is policy D9, electronic communications between employees and students, third reading. So this time we're not gonna read it out loud. Is there any discussion? All right, well then we'll. And that's the action item, so we'll actually take action on it, right? That's it, okay. Do I have a motion to approve policy D9, electronic communications between employees and students? Chelsea moves. Do I have a second?
Second.
Jen, seconds. Any discussion? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, the third action item is, the determination of achievement of the superintendent's performance goals. So these are confidential goals that were discussed in executive session. Is there any discussion about the performance goals that you want to have in public?
I wasn't aware they were confidential, but I just wanted to make sure that I've had a few questions from constituents emailed to me asking about what the evaluation is based on. So I just wanted to see if you could explain a little bit more, just from start to finish, creating the goals in October, say what the goals are, but just and how that process works. So people understand what the bonus performance pay is based on.
So unfortunately, our lawyer is not here right now.
Joe is on as a participant.
Oh, wonderful. Joe, can you hear us? Nick, can you promote Joe to panelist?
I can hear you, Mr. Chairman.
How about now? Oh, can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Did you hear the question or shall I repeat it?
No, I hear the question. And by contract, the board is to work with the superintendent and set goals by October of each particular year. And then once those goals are set, the board is to monitor the accomplishment of those goals across the year. And by May 15, is to determine whether the goals were met in part or not met at all. And based upon that outcome, which was, as I understand it, first communicated to the superintendent in executive session as a result of the discussion that is permitted by contract. The board now needs to determine publicly that those, what the status of meeting those goals are.
And Joe, would you explain the differences between, monitoring on policy governance and the content and meaning of these performance goals and the approval of them?
Yes, the monitoring of the various factors in policy governance is a bit different than the monitoring of the goals that are set annually in the superintendent's contract as a part of that contract. They may be parallel at times, they may somewhat differ at times, but the goals that are set annually in October are the goals that the board judges the performance pay on. The goals, if you will, or the monitoring that takes place under policy governance is ongoing and is looking at a broader scope, I think is fair to say, than simply the goals that are articulated between the board and the superintendent annually.
Thank you. Last question for me. Would it be correct to characterize the goals that are under discussion right now as personal goals?
I think that would be fair because those are the goals that the board and the superintendent agreed would be her personal goals for the year.
Any other discussion? All right, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent's performance goals?
And amend to find that she's totally met, for instance, Joe outlined totally met, partially met, or not met. And so just for.
Thank you, yes. So do I have a motion to approve the performance goals as having been totally met? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. All right, we are now more than an hour ahead of schedule.
Great.
So is there any interest in taking the placeholder for a brief recess? No, okay, then we'll just keep moving on. To item 8, discussion items. The first discussion item is the consideration of public participation in meetings. This is what the committee of Jen and Emily and I worked on last month.
Laura, Jill Housing.
Oh, yes.
I think I did that.
Do we need to-
It's a discussion item.
It's a discussion
Share as
item.
much.
Okay.
Of the discussion for the board at this time.
Sure.
Like to read it into the records.
It might be helpful just to put it on the screen. Do you want to say anything about that?
No, I do not. I mean, I think that it's what we can't, I'd like to share what we've done. So that anyone that's, and how does that work with getting it out to the public? If the public has any comments specifically related to the development of this improved policy, right? These are some of the things I've learned really. There's
So this is the version of it where we have accepted the changes. And then. This is the version of it where we're showing our changes. So I think, Tim, you had asked to see, the version where we were tracking. Changes.
No, I'm comfortable with just font, whatever we be.
Okay, sure,
Whatever we
then
can
that's
actually
this,
the act.
that's right here. So perhaps a quick read would be appropriate. Laura, have a copy of it.
You have a hard copy. You want me to read it? Just then?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
we're at an hour ahead, so.
A few times.
So policy under governance, 4.9, public participation at board meetings. So policy, it is the policy of the board to encourage public participation at its meetings. Background, the South Burlington School District Board of School Directors recognizes the importance of public input in fostering transparency, accountability, and community engagement. This policy establishes guidelines for public comment during board meetings, ensuring that community members have a structured and respectful opportunity to express their views on matters concerning the district. Implementation. Reasonable rules of participation may be used to ensure that meetings are conducted in an orderly fashion and that the business at hand is completed in a timely manner. Such rules may take into consideration such things as length of each speaker's presentation and the number of times each speaker may comment. Persons who may address the board. 1, any district resident. 2, school staff members, students, and parents. 3, individuals who have been requested by the superintendent or the board to present a given subject. 4, persons who are directly affected by matters on the board agenda. 5, owners of businesses in the district. 6, others at the discretion of the board. Public comment. 1, there will be time set aside for public input at every regular, special, or emergency meeting of the board. 2, when the number of people wishing to speak is large, the board may authorize the chair to use the speakers list. Members of the public will be given an opportunity to sign the speakers list, indicating which agenda item will be addressed. 3, individuals wishing to speak are encouraged to sign up prior to the meeting's commencement. Sign-up sheets may be available at the meeting location and, when applicable, through online platforms. 4, each speaker may be allotted up to 3 minutes to address the board. The board chair may adjust time limits to accommodate the number of speakers and ensure the meeting's timely progression. 5, speakers are expected to maintain civility and respect. Alternative submission methods. 1, individuals unable to attend meetings may submit written comments to the board by email or postal mail. And 2, written comments received may be acknowledged and, when appropriate, included in the public record. Appropriate topics. 1, the chair may warn or rule out of order any presentation to the board which breaches the privacy or other rights of students, parents, or school employees, violates the grievance procedure of a contract with the district, or uses profanity. 2, comments involving specific personnel or students should be directed through appropriate channels to maintain confidentiality and comply with privacy laws. 3, the board may publish and maintain a list of topics and the corresponding authorities so that the public is informed about the most efficient way to provide input. And 4, the public may comment on a topic even if the board is not the corresponding authority, but the board may refer the speaker to the corresponding authority. Board interaction with the public. 1, board meetings are public meetings, but not necessarily meetings with the public. 2, for the purposes of public participation, the board may designate meetings as public forums. 3, during public forums, the board may interact with the public on agenda items. 4, during all other meetings, the board generally will not interact with the public. 5, the board shall not discuss or interact with the public on items that are not on the agenda. 6, if a response is requested, the board will provide a written reply within a reasonable time frame. And then accessibility and accommodations. 1, the district is committed to ensuring accessibility for all individuals. 2, requests for accommodations, including translation services or assistance, individuals with disabilities, should be directed to the superintendent's office at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. That was the reading.
Thank you, Laura. And as as it shows below here, this was adopted from VSBA model policy A21. And the full changes are visible in another document. Is there any discussion on this further?
Just a couple of questions. So the persons who may address, we have it restricted to any district resident, is that the VSBA policy? I guess how
I'll
would we
pull up.
restrict it to just residents? Because I would assume anybody could speak in front of the board, even if they're not a district resident.
That is straight from the model policy.
It is, okay.
So this is the model policy on screen right now. And the additions that we did to that was only adding owners of businesses in the district.
So is the board prepared to enforce somebody who's not a district resident from speaking to the board?
I think that we might
Or is that
rule
just
them
a
out.
choice of a choice?
Yeah, but I don't think we would stop them from speaking.
Go back up to the top, if you look at that, what are the other, you can have people who may not be a district resident, but they could be, say, a school staff member. So it's not, you have to be all of these things, it's, you need to be one of those things. So if you had someone who is a school or staff member or a student or a parent, and they don't necessarily live in this district, but maybe they work in this district, then I would still, or if they're affected by matters on the board agenda, again, if they may not be necessarily resident. So we tried to make sure that that wet net was cast wide enough, right?
So I believe we have in the past had people speak to the board, that aren't residents. Speaking to us on matters on the agenda, so I just want to make sure we're not being too restrictive
Yeah.
here, so. Great.
I guess a good follow-up question is who's precluded from addressing the board by this list?
So somebody who is not a district resident, nor works at the school, nor has been asked to present. Nor directly affected, not an owner of a business and not at our discretion. So it would have to, if you want to be, to exclude somebody, you have to be none of these things. And then even if they were excluded, at least the policy of this chair would be to allow them to speak, but perhaps to rule them out of order.
Another question.
Oh, and Joe has a,
Oh,
but why don't we go with Tim first?
I was just gonna ask if Joe had reviewed this, so.
I had not seen that unfortunately until this evening. And I would recommend to the board that you add an additional category after between 5 and 6. And that is non-residents wishing to speak. I'll make reference to the city of Burlington, which goes in the order of Burlington residents, Burlington business owners who may not be residents, and then staff members, et cetera, and then non-residents before others at the discretion of the board. I think that way you are fully complying with the statute that says that the public has the right to speak on agenda items, and the statute does not say simply residents. So I would not limit, I would add what you just did.
Perhaps we should delete the whole section and let the VSBA know that their model policy is a bit dated then.
I think if you add that descending order, you've got everyone, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Could I use this, because you're talking about public communication, just to make an irreverent comment about myself and public meetings and public comment? And I want to say about Gracie Morris that I have been watching her as a track competitor and as a very, very good athlete all spring without recognizing the connection that this is the person I see at the school board meeting. So if I may be irreverent and add to the accolades for Gracie at her last attending school board meeting, I sure would like to do so.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I am gonna have to rule you out of order, though.
Totally understood, Mr. Chairman.
Further thoughts? There's a lot in here. I think one of the main changes, an idea brought to us by Laura, is the creation of a designation of board meetings called public forums. And I think the most important idea is that during public forums, the board may interact with the public on agenda items. And I feel like that is something that should not go unnoticed by people who vote for this policy, which we're not voting on it today, but it should be considered.
I have one more comment if nobody else does. Board interaction with the public. Number 6, if a response is requested. I don't know if you want to put in there the board or designee will provide a statement. Because I don't know if it would be the board that necessarily respond every time.
No.
I think that's in our current state, something to that effect, so.
Okay. Can we take comments from the public on things that are not one for action? Hopefully we can.
No, it's usually discussion items.
Sorry. Sure. But that's a perfect example. We are, according to our public participation policy, we would, only take comments on matters, let's see.
Or action items.
Where, right, of course, yeah, I think it's our current policy to only take it on action items, but
So is that called out here?
that's a good thing. What do we want? Do we want discussion items and action items? Do we want only action items?
Well, I mean, I thought part of, I remembered when we were writing this, that we had discussed different times when people would speak, and there was the thought that it's a little bit confusing for that very reason. So maybe you just have that time at the beginning of the agenda. I believe that's how Burlington does it.
Yes.
Is that they only have public comment and it's at the beginning, and then you just are able to go through your meeting.
Yeah, that's how MMU does it also.
But I could see, I think Dan, or maybe it was Tim that brought up at one point, if you're speaking about someone or about something and it triggers, thought in the audience, that somebody may then want to comment on it, on this, right?
Well, but that's what our training with Michael Healy said. You get comments in the beginning because you have a business meeting. It's a
Yeah.
business, a public meeting, but it's not with the public. And so that's why I'm suggesting strongly the forums. So people can come to speak, because we are not really participating in policy governance if we are constantly interacting with the, and I'm not saying we should be interacting.
So,
But the point is, like, even the way we are physically set up,
right,
I think is confusing for people.
well, and I
And
guess.
could we just, the model policy says public comment on agenda items. The chair will ask for comments on agenda items before action is taken, so that would preclude discussion items. And then items not on the agenda, that would be the time set aside in the middle. And so what this committee did was converge those two and said, if you want to comment on an action item, you are to do it during the time set aside at the beginning of the meeting. So that's what the current draft says. And I think Joe has a comment.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe.
So, Joe, can you,
We can't hear you, Joe.
Joe, you're muted. There it
Thank
is.
you. I'm sorry. I was having trouble getting it off mute. I just wanted to call to the board's attention that the statute, the open meeting statute, requires that the public be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting. So that is the minimum requirement. There is nothing to preclude the body, if it should wish, to expand that public opportunity into items that are not necessarily on the agenda, as many public bodies do. But the minimum legally required is opportunity to express opinion as to agenda items.
Is it, and in the statute, Joe, is it as to agenda items or is it as to what is discussed during the meeting?
The precise expression is to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting.
Okay, so that indicates that there should be a public comment period at the end. If they're supposed to be allowed to comment on things considered during the meeting, then it seems to me that there should either be during or at the end to cover that during action items.
Typically, the way boards handle that is that if there are to be amendments to the agenda, they would be offered at the beginning of the meeting. And then, theoretically, under Robert's rules, you're only dealing with your agenda items. There could be later on a motion to add an item to the agenda. It would require a 2/3 vote. And then there should be opportunity for the public to talk about that item. But legally, it's only those items that are coming before the board.
So when it says considered, it just means the things that are on the agenda. And so that's why it's okay to only have it at the beginning of the meeting.
Typically, that's correct.
While we're discussing this, it's not our current policy and our current public guidelines. Our current public guidelines, as listed on our published agenda, the second one says comments should not be related to agenda items, but can be made during the discussion of an agenda item. And historically, as chair, I have, following guidance from the board, not taken public comment during discussion items with the idea that we're not taking action on it. So a member of the public can send in an email or a comment on it during an action item, but we have also taken public comment during discussion items sometimes. That's where that like invariable application has come from. And as it's stated right now, I do think this is where the confusion comes from, because it says can be made during the discussion of an agenda item. It doesn't say during the discussion of an action agenda item.
And that really should be changed. I think that's my opinion. I think people should be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about.
During the public comment.
During public comment.
At the beginning, but it would only be one time to comment and it would be
Right.
at the beginning of the
At the
meeting.
beginning about anything.
Yeah.
Cause I just think this makes for such, I've been confused. I know people have shown up and have been confused.
Well, and especially with something like this, where you have to read it a couple of times, and then you also have the opportunity for people to send an email. So there could be, comments can be received
Yeah.
before you're even taking potential action on something.
Yeah.
I won't break the rule. Sorry. So my interpretation of this policy as written is that we would have a comment period at the beginning, as we always have.
Mhm.
And then we would disallow any comment after that period.
Right.
So that is my understanding of the way this is written. And if people think that that is wrong, please, now is the time to, or, we're not acting on it, but we'd like to hear that on the committee.
Wait, say that one more time. That you provide your comment at the beginning,
Yes.
only at the
Only
beginning,
And on any item.
and not on any item.
On any item.
On
any
any.
item.
On any.
You can talk about whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Totally agree.
The-
Talk about.
Totally agree, because I think it goes back to the comment that we had received that time, where somebody waited all
Waited
that
and then,
time.
yes.
And then they weren't allowed to speak because it was a discussion item and it wasn't an action
It
item.
was an action item.
Well, yeah,
Whatever it was very confusing.
it's
Yeah.
frustrating.
Do we want to put in something like the public may comment on any topic?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think you need to.
Not gonna get it.
Maybe not quantify, how about just public comment, there's 10 minutes.
Okay,
And
yeah,
then just
That's it.
okay,
let it go.
okay.
And in this case, this is an example, someone's wanting to speak, but it's not time to speak. So would we need to say something about if something occurs during the meeting that you'd like to comment on, please email us or,
Email
I
us.
mean, might be nice for someone to understand like how they're supposed to get the information to us if they're not
Right.
allowed.
Alternative submission methods. Individuals unable to attend meetings or make their comment or provide their input. Or otherwise unable, individuals unable to provide their input.
During, I would say during.
Yeah,
During the meeting.
that could be either they were here or there wasn't the proper
Yeah.
time.
Does anybody have any other thoughts about this? Another thing I'll call out where the phrasing is perhaps a little strange, but, it's appropriate topics. So, the intention with number 3 is that we have something on our website, like a table that says, if you want to talk about curriculum, you have to talk to the building principals. If you want to talk about staffing, that has to go to the superintendent. If you want to, and so the reason for that is that the committee felt there had been a sense of frustration around who the right person to bring up a problem was. And so that is the purpose of number 3, is to provide a published list of topics and who to go to about them. All right,
Thank people.
of course. Any other discussion on public participation? Hearing none. Move on to the school board vacancy timeline and process for billing. You have information about that, so Chelsea will share information about that.
So I believe that from the time that I vacate the seat, the board has to make and Joe, you can quote probably the statute, but a good faith effort to fill the seat within 30 days, which means that you have to have a meeting where you can presumably appoint someone to my seat within 30 days of you vacating the seat. If no one is interested, or if someone's interested, we would interview them and decide not to appoint them. That is all taking action to fill the seat. So we've had instances where we hold applications and no one applies, and 30 days elapses, but we tried and no one applied. We've had other instances where only one person applies, and so I believe I stated my last day would be June 30th. At the time, I thought I wouldn't live in South Burlington any longer. I will be here through the month of July, but I think it would be really good for the board to fill my seat during July, so you have a chance to gel with a new board member. But I'm happy to stay on longer if you need any help. But the board should post an ad, and you should agree on an application with the questions. I'm happy to provide the draft reviews in the past. And you should also establish a scoring rubric for those interviews. And you'll need to put it on the warrant agenda to appoint someone to fill my seat, and they'll be filling the seat until the next town meeting day, at which time they could run to finish my full term, but the voters will have a choice. But any questions?
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I was just wanting to understand, Chelsea, how much longer do you have on your term right now?
I think until 2027.
But the person who we would appoint wouldn't have to do that full time. It would just, okay,
That's too much.
they'd have to run again, right, okay, and someone else could run for your seat. Okay, thank you.
But they would have it until 2027.
No.
No,
Oh.
Now until next March.
Oh, until next March, I see.
As long as
Okay.
they finish the term.
Got it.
And whether it be the person you're appointed or someone else, they would be on the ballot to fill the remainder of the term.
right, so then at that point, they would.
So in your ad, you could say to people, do you want to try out for it? You're
Right,
only
right.
committed to March, which at this point is 3 months.
Great, okay, thank you, Chelsea. Any other discussion on that?
Forward the board, the previous application and scoring rubrics that we've used, and that way you can decide if you'd like to adjust it before.
Great. So the next discussion item is policy G8, selection of library materials, and this is the second reading.
Has already been read into the record one time. We're ahead of schedule, so we could read it a second time, but.
Would any board member like me to read it into the record again? All right, any discussion of selection of library materials? All right. Then we'll move on to reports by the school board. Are there any reports from school board members? Great.
I don't think so. The only thing I would like to add, and I don't know if this is the right time to do it, maybe it's for set the agenda for the July 9th. But things like, the revisions to the agenda. Status on scorecard, building scorecard for both board. We talked about the superintendent. Circling back on our Gantt chart, et cetera. So those things are racy, but that could probably be part of the agenda for the night.
Yeah, let's put it on the agenda so that we do something about it.
Okay.
Any other reports? Then we're skipping agenda item 10, superintendent's report, because the superintendent is not here. And so we'll move on to number 11, agenda planning. And so the first item is to set the agenda for the July 9th meeting. And let me just read out what the current agenda is. So this is a Wednesday, July 9th. There's an executive session at 3 p.m. Then there are comments from the public. We go into public meeting. And then there's consent agenda. So it's very short. It's from 3 to 4:15, and there's no discussion or action items. So, and we can obviously also talk right now about the June 18th agenda, which is in 2 days. And the only things in June 18th are 4 o'clock, comments from the public. And then one action item, which is monitoring report 2.2, treatment of staff. And then adjournment at 5:15, and then we go to the steering committee meeting. So I wanted to capture, Emily, you had said something at the beginning of the meeting that we needed to add.
Oh, yes, discussion about the possibility of appointing a vice chair to the board.
Legal structure of officers, at one point, I was really interested in the co-chair model, and it's actually not legal in Vermont. So that leads me to believe it's a more complicated topic than.
Sure, I can do that. School board vacancy, do we want to talk about that on July 9th? So that would be our next meeting.
I think that's definitely.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we need. We need to advertise that before.
And who puts the advertisement over? Is that something we do?
So usually the board has an ad and we ask the communications coordinator to put it on the website. Historically, the superintendent has put it in her newsletter. The board chair usually posts on some Porch Forum. I recall us getting a lot of really good recommendations this past winter. I have to go back. There were just several ideas that were not standard practice that I thought would be really good ads.
Right. I think on July 9th, I would propose doing the public participation.
So, fine.
Well, at what point can we move that into action items?
So as it is right now, you're discussing the policy, and I think once the board reaches the point where they like the policy, you then need to put it on discussion twice to do a first reading, a second reading. And a third reading, and your third reading can also be when to take action. I think that's right.
So do we want to move it to a first reading?
What was that tonight, the first reading?
No,
Was it?
It's just discussion.
the next reading will also be discussion, but there'll be parentheses, first reading, after it. So does anybody have objections to the way it's written or want to discuss it further? Okay, so we'll warn that on July 9th for a second, or for, I'm sorry, for a first reading.
It's also, I think, what you're considering, right now, it's consideration of public participation in meetings, which is very broad. By adding policy to the agenda of topic language, it will keyword the agenda that you're adding policy.
Yeah. And Jen, I think what you just brought up was changing the agenda template. I think. So do we wanna, I don't think we would need to take any formal action on that, but we should discuss it. So. Is it okay, July 9th, to talk about agenda templates and,
Have that.
yeah, hopefully it'll be fast. And then what about, monitoring equity?
I was gonna ask about that. Because those are right now, it's pushed back until August 13th. Actually,
I think you probably want to discuss that with superintendent to make sure we have. Great people to them, before we put that on. Just as I think typically July tends to be pretty light. From what we're gonna tackle as a board, just saying. It's sort of our little bit of downtime we get, so I'd be cautious about adding a whole lot to agendas in July.
Okay, so, to recap. On Wednesday in 2 days at June 18th, the only thing on the agenda is, comments from the public. And then action item, monitor report 2.2 treatment of staff. That's June 18th. Any additions to June 18th?
And that begins at 4 p.m.
And that begins at 4 p.m. here, right? And then, for July 9th. We start at 3 p.m. And at least if we start with the executive session, that would mean moving the discussion of participation in the agenda template after executive session, which is when we've opened it up for up as a public meeting. So it would be 3 o'clock executive session, 4 o'clock regular meeting, where we would discuss public participation, agenda template, and then pending what Joe says, the vice chair. Do we need to add a discussion item on school board vacancy, or do we wanna just handle that offline? Just just with me.
are those usually discussed in a public meeting? School board vacancy?
So do we need another discussion item for school board vacancy and talk about how we wanna fill it?
Usually, you at least update the public on where you are in the process, so, certainly you wouldn't talk about candidates in an open session, but, you also will hold candidate interviews in public, and then recess to executive session to discuss your scores and vote consensus.
Did you say we would, or we would?
The interviews are public.
Oh,
But not the
And then-
discussion of candidates, so
Okay.
you wouldn't say, I like candidate A more than
Oh.
candidate B.
All right, so it looks like we're adding three things potentially to July 9th. The 3 things we're definitely adding are school board vacancy, participation, first reading, and agenda template. And the 4th potential question is vice chair, pending what Joe says. Is there any other?
Discussion about placing all contracts on the website.
I think we could just request that of the staff.
Good.
So. Sure.
I acknowledge what you said, Tim, and I remember hearing that the 9th was usually like a chill meeting. And I think these items don't seem like they're gonna be that,
No,
yeah,
I just think, well, and the issue is to adjust. In summertime, this is public, is
Right.
aware of what's going on,
Right.
trying to tackle big stuff.
right. Pretty comfortable that it's easy step to tackle, but I guess it's possible participants won't be able to make it. Like, public will might be on vacation, so if there's anything that would be better saved for another meeting, just something to think about.
Yeah, and something that Dan just said is, he's very interested in putting all of the contracts. That are public information onto the website in an easy to find place. And he proposed adding that to the agenda, and I would say that I can also try to ask for that to be put on the website, and then we don't need to discuss it. But if we do, then we'll discuss it. Does that make sense?
Just place them with the teachers and support staff contracts that are already listed on the website.
In the spirit of full transparency.
Yes.
Did you, I don't know if you added the, topic of a scorecard? I'd like to talk about scorecard, at least bring it up, the scorecard. And one for the board and one for our monitoring of the superintendent, I think is critical. And then I would also add, I'd also like to discuss a strategic improvement plan.
So on the scorecard, that would be compliant with policy governance and would be in the context of the monitoring reports, maybe a summarization of the
Yes.
results of the monitoring reports.
Yes. And linking back, so the way I would see it, I mean, and there's.
Hold on, I'm just, I guess maybe I should roll myself over a bit. That's actually the wrong question. So we're discussing the concept of a scorecard, okay?
Yes.
And then separately, the scorecard for the super and the board. And what was the other one? Strategic plan.
Strategic plan.
Okay, so given what Tim just said, do we want to try to add those to the next meeting,
Tonight.
to the 9th? That would mean that we would have between 5 to 7 discussion items.
I mean, I feel motivated to do that, and I could do a lot of legwork even before, so we have something to share, because I just feel like I really want to hit the ground running with some things, like, I feel like we need to close the gap on a few items, and one of them is how we're doing with our monitoring reports, and you know, what those results are and how you can map that back, and you know, looking just even at the transparency on the website to be able to find, like, where are the monitoring
Sure,
reports?
so you're advocating for, yeah, I mean, I would support that, and I would feel confident that we can move through those quickly enough. Does anybody object to putting scorecard and strategic plan on the July 9th meeting? Or is it sufficient number of people?
Well, I think if you're gonna talk strategic planning, or you talk stewardship. Or,
Well, strategic plan is one thing, but then the stewardship would be through the scorecard, so they're two kind of separate animals. But at least to broach it, to start broaching that conversation, right?
we have stewardship. That's maintained by the business owners.
Is that the continuous improvement plan?
No, when are you talking facilities?
No. Okay, so the strategic plan, I'd seen reference to it in a couple of things that I've looked at. And when we actually found it, it turns out it was dated like 2007. So yeah, so this one is different. This is, and I looked at examples from like Burlington School District has like a very clear strategic plan, like for 2023 to 2028. And I feel like that would be something like, what is the?
Yeah,
the
I feel like
district
that
vision?
we agree, I think we all are in agreement that it would be good to talk about that. The only
Yeah.
question, I think, is whether it goes on July 9th. I think we could as long as we kept it short and we broached the subject, I don't have a problem with that.
And I'm fine with that, I think, just as long as, if you're short, just to so we all understand what it is we're gonna be working on, but I think talking about a strategic plan, July 9th would be challenging because nobody's around, probably people are gonna miss the discussion, so I think it's probably better just to clarify what we wanna talk about, but have that full discussion later on. Does that make sense?
That may all be that it is like, hey, when we're talking about strategic plan, this is what we need, this is what we're talking about.
Sure.
And not that we're gonna start developing.
Yes,
right,
Floating the idea.
Right, that's
like-
what, I don't wanna,
Okay.
Yeah.
make sure we're not doing
Okay,
that.
so I will put on discussing the kind of the concept of the strategic plan, not any strategic plan itself.
Exactly. Same,
Same
ditto
with
with the scorecard.
Right.
For both the board and the superintendent, which then traces back to the monitoring reports, and that's more of the stewardship, I would say.
So do people have any other interests they wanna, add to this next agenda or just remind us about any future agenda? The only one that I would bring up personally is that at some point this summer, I would be interested in starting the process of adding trades to the ends policy. But I don't think that goes to the next year.
And consider another retreat with you. We can get that out.
And, you know, and one other thing too, when we did the public comment, it started out as kind of a two-pronged approach. It was gonna be public comment and community engagement, and there were two separate kind of
Right.
things. And I would like to resurrect that also, like, what are we
Community
doing
engagement
for
part.
community
Yeah,
engagement?
that's where like the forums came out of that, and then, yeah, I've got lots of ideas on that. Let's continue that.
I think we should bring that up at some
Yeah.
point. Like, again, and it may just be a work plan that we're
Right.
creating, like,
So on July 9th, do we wanna again discuss the concept of a community engagement committee?
Yeah, then we can form the committee then.
I have any objections. It's gonna be a long meeting, but that's fine. I love it. I'm into it.
Gotta be done eventually, so.
Yeah, we probably should hold there though.
yeah. Chelsea's like, did I say I was gonna stay till July? No, I.
Are there any other items that? And you don't have to go on July 9th, but you
Right.
to have a list for.
Yeah.
Other meetings.
Correct.
I am planning to be done on June 30th, unless
Fast.
we need additional help, just to be clear about that.
Anybody else want to bring up anything for this next agenda or any future agenda?
Can we just get a status update on the event, on the racing? Sorry.
I have not worked on it, we should take that up on July 9th.
So we're gonna start.
I
the
think what we're gonna discuss on July 9th is gonna blend into it.
Davis, can we, should we start at one?
Yeah, right.
Barbecue.
Do you want to put the scorecard and the racing in the same or they're different?
I think they're different.
Okay.
See the movie, yeah, right.
Okay, all right, and any other discussion of agenda? All right. Then we're moving on to future agenda items, parking lot. Do we need to? I think we need to add that parking lot question to the next meeting too. Superintendent will be here. Maybe we have moved there's a agenda item for parking lot. I think we should move that to Wednesday. Because superintendent will be here.
Can you plan on a specific one?
It says agenda planning, B, future agenda items / parking lot.
So we have a question you're putting in.
So I was just suggesting moving this, or adding to the Wednesday meeting in 2 days, this parking lot agenda, unless anybody knows what that means.
Well, I know that the parking lot doesn't mean an actual parking lot, it means like that's where we would park the post-it note with the question.
Ah, okay, never mind.
But you do
It's
have
a
several
metaphor.
agenda items that
Yeah, it's a
you
metaphor.
wanted to ask the superintendent about, which you could do if you put it on the agenda base.
like, and monitoring equity, for example.
Right, I've got that asked Violet. It's not, we're not gonna warrant, I mean, I'm not, unless she says, yes, let's, let's do it, then.
No shit, I doubt she's gonna say that.
Okay, so, now we're moving on to item 12, consent agenda. What do I do? Are there any questions on any of the items on the consent agenda? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I don't think you need a motion. I think if there are no questions, you could just say here, no questions, the consent agenda.
Hearing no questions.
I think.
Yep, I approve that.
Hearing no questions, the consent agenda is approved by consent.
And sometimes I read out like what some of the items very long, this is really not for all of this, but sometimes I'll just highlight that it's improving minutes for certain meetings or making order numbers.
Okay, all right. So we do have an executive session now.
It just says if it's
So moving on to agenda item 13, optional executive session.
Don't think we need one. Longer discuss.
Didn't we have items that were on a previous executive session that we didn't get to? In the state. that we needed to discuss, and it's from before, or at least there was an update.
Joe, do you have any items for us? And do you think it would be a good idea to have executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I honestly do not think that an executive session is needed this evening. There could be an executive session either on Wednesday or on the 9th that would cover the items that I'm aware of.
And will you be available for executive session on the 18th? In 2
I will
days?
be. Oh, no, I won't be on the 18th, but I would be thereafter.
And if we were to do an executive session now, would you be available for it?
Yes.
But he says it. Doesn't think it's necessary.
Well, but it's up to us. So. Sure.
I wouldn't mind taking a moment to go into executive session. I don't think it would have to be lengthy.
I think we need to be very clear about when it is we're discussing.
Right.
Yeah, right. I was just gonna
What's
say,
warned is
what's
labor.
warned is labor.
So you can only talk about labor negotiation,
Yeah.
Emily Laura.
You can't go.
right? And the executive session on the 9th is again only labor negotiations. And on the 18th, we do not have an executive session. So this means that we don't have, so if there are other topics for executive session, I think we have to warn them. So maybe we can follow up about that, since we can't do it today.
So
So
we could warn them for the 9th.
Or we could even warn them for the 18th if you guys
Well,
want.
Joe's, if we need Joe, we won't.
Oh, right, yes.
So the only one that I was concerned about was the real estate issue. Is that something that we do not need to discuss, or we do need to discuss it, we don't?
Joe's saying.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, but I'll follow up with you, Jen, just to make sure. that-
Okay. Can also hold a special meeting and have an executive session if there's something more to do. Which we've done quite a lot recently.
All right, then moving to item 14, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All right, then, oh yes, all those in favor of adjournment? Yeah.
Aye.
Then the special meeting of the school board on June 15th is adjourned.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a record.